My name is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Boakai, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Between the Headlines on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Between the Headlines, we're going to be dealing with some current issues, namely President Boakai Suspends the boss of NOCAL amid corruption allegations. Also, another alleged arson in Bong County. We also know that the embattled speaker or the former speaker or speaker, Funati Kofa, is back in the country and say he does not recognize the other speaker, Richard Kuhn. So what is Kofa going to do? The president does recognize Richard Kuhn. So what are you going to do? We want to look into that. Also, President Boakai has been saying a lot of things, but some of the things he said can always get his listeners scratching his head. And it takes us some weeks, if not months, to really for people to clean up what he said. Tonight, we're going to be looking at a few of those. Let me welcome Dr. Clarence Pearson to the show. Doc, welcome.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure being on the show tonight. I want to say hi to all my fellow panelists and to the viewers out there. Welcome, and it's a pleasure.
Thank you. Let me welcome FOL political analyst, Mr. J. Victor Nambwe. Welcome, teacher.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here.
All right. Mr. Nambwe is a long-time UPP, but when UPP was not performing, he went to CPP. What is this with Mr. Nambwe and all these P's? Let me also welcome the Prof, Dr. George Y. William, educator and social commentator. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. It's always a pleasure to be here and lend our voice to the process of national development.
Thank you.
And join these illustrious men as well.
Great. Let me also welcome Pastor S.T. Salif. He's the senior pastor of One Family Christian Center. Also, he is a sustainable development coach, and he's in the presidency. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. It's great to be on the show tonight. I look forward to a healthy debate, and we want to welcome our listeners on Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp land, wherever you're getting this broadcast. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you. Let me also welcome our friend from Winnipeg in Canada, Mr. A. Boakai Dukley. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be here.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. If you have not done so already, please share the show, invite someone. This is by far the the best you can listen to in the Liberian online television world. This is our reports, our discussions are balanced, very informative, educative, and the people know their stuff. Let's finally, Dr. Pearson, there was trouble at NOCAL. We talked about NOCAL extensively, but finally, the president moved swiftly to suspend Madame Swakoko Dennis pending investigation. And I mean, this is good news. The president did that. I mean, sorry, Oreo want to be part of the broadcast, so sorry. But Dr. Pearson, what's your reaction to the story that the president moved swiftly to suspend Madame Swakoko Dennis?
Well, look. I think Dennis, thank you. I think whenever we hear that President Boakai is taking action against anyone who is caught in any form of impropriety, I wouldn't say corruption in this case, because from what I heard, it has been established that the vehicles were bought separately under two different accounts. And there is an investigation launched into that account, those accounts, to see what is happening there. But the fact that the board of directors of NOCAL, which is being presided over by, if I'm not mistaken, Gloria Musu-Scott, being cognizant of the laws, probably recommending the president to take that action of suspension, probably have some weight to her recommendation. So I wouldn't say is set in stone, but I think it's a good direction. It's a step in the right direction, and I would like to see the president do more, not just with people who are not too close to his political elite, to move beyond his own scope of comfort and go after those who are more closer to the Unity Party cells. And to do that, will tell the Liberian people that he's actually serious for the fight against corruption. Whether the anti-corruption commission will come up with any findings, that is yet to be established in my mind, because they have never come up with any findings. All of the different investigations that are currently pending on their decks, so I'm not too sure about what's going to come up with that. But it's in the right direction.
Thank you, Mr. Nambo. Your reaction? Too little, too late, too soon, or?
It'd be a little bit, look, any day when the president acts, to save, taxpayers' penny, it's a good day in Liberia. So it's if the allegations are true, this is a welcome development. But to what end? Too often when these kinds of allegations come about, all we hear of is suspension, and that's it. What about the investigation? What is the end of the investigation? I mean, there are lots of cases in points, but the commerce minister is the most, one of the most recent cases that come to mind. $96,000 allegedly expended on a single vehicle. Yes, the president eventually forced him out, but then what? So if the allegations are true and the investigation is ongoing and the board, recommended her suspension, that is good. It's a welcome development. But what about the investigation? Would the investigation still continue, or is this just a clever attempt to circumvent the investigation and just sweep the rest of the case under the rug? So I think that is what we should be more concerned with. Yes. Should the president have acted if this is the recommendation of the board? Yes, absolutely. But I hope he goes beyond this, because we've had 2 minutes suspension without closure. We have to. The Liberian people have to be made whole whenever this kind of thing happens.
Mr. Dukley, if the allegations are true and found guilty, I mean, what do you think going to happen? Are we going to get the money back? Are we going to, like the cars? The last time when the car with Amin Modad, the former commerce minister, the president said, well, I'm going to use the car for my guests. are we going to recoup some of the stolen money if this is true?
Well, the short answer is I highly doubt it. But you see, Dennis, this scandal has exposed a pattern of behavior. I mean, following this story from the beginning, you can see that even though Ms. Rosalind Swakoko Dennis is the main player here, but it is alleged that this was not an individual effort. There are other senior senior members of her staff who were also implicated, particularly the controllers, and they made mention of one Richmond Jala and Makanum Denisi, something like, I don't know. Anyway, so they even made mention of the name of Boakai Jaliba, who is one of the I guess assistant or deputy CEO for administration or something like that. So then as you can see here, this wasn't just an individual effort on the part of Ms. Dennis here. Coupled with the fact that apparently the person that she replaced had procured a vehicle for the CEO, and I think when he left, the vehicle was there. So you can only see the pattern of waste that they have established in that institution. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that this money is gone and it's gone for good. Liberia is not going to get this money back, and I'm even highly skeptical of that. Even though the vehicles have now been taken over by LACC, whatever agents that is investigating her. But I would be surprised if these vehicles are not returned to her, because of the way we have seen things done in Liberia over the years. So not only will the money not be recovered, but I would be very highly skeptical that anyone would be held accountable, despite what you see right now by the president suspending her and all the noise you're hearing. I mean, this is not the first time we've heard something like this. This is not the first time something like this has happened. The recent example would be what happened at the Ministry of Commerce with Amin Modad. What happened? What really happened to Modad beyond he being let go? No one knows. And I can tell you, based on the pattern of what we've seen over the years, probably that was the end of it. And the only reason that happened, because this story was becoming a drag on President Joseph Boakai. And so for that reason, he had to take the drastic step he took by letting Modad go. And I don't see this particular case any different than that, Dennis.
Dr. Williams, we don't want to always be closing the fence after the guinea pigs already finished eating the rice. What are some of these safeguards to stop these things from happening and not only being reactive when they happen?
Dennis, my point exactly. I don't think this government have done much looking at the anti-graft infrastructure that they inherited. They're evidently very weak infrastructure. Not much has been done. There's absolute lack of political will to not only arrest a number of these issues, but to fully prosecute as it stands. So I like to be more prescriptive rather than be diagnostic, because as we look at the situation at all levels, from the FIU to the Ministry of State with the yellow machines, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with the scholarship scheme, the issue of the First Lady's office. There are too many issues that we could list where similar situations have happened that has led to finances and corruption that hasn't been addressed effectively. It's not enough to suspend. It's not enough. But what this shows is that the government itself isn't visionary enough to see the need to set up an infrastructure that will arrest these things from happening. You go to the Ministry of Internal Affairs, there's a budget of $197,000 for office renovation. Something is not wrong. I mean, something is not right in this in the setup of government that will deter people from making those decisions. So people have the will and the freedom, the latitude to embark on such schemes, whether at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or not. They embark on such schemes with very little happening. So suspending, yeah, we're happy she's at the Ministry of at the LACC. That's a good deed. But how many others who should be there aren't there right now? And at the end of the day, not to preempt what the outcome is going to be, but I'm not sure this government has the tooth to bite. With all of the other reports that they have on hand and what has just happened at the central bank, I am not optimistic that much can come out of this process. And so in my mind, I think as any well-meaning citizen should begin to think about is not so much as investing our anxieties in expectations in this government and in the presidency, but to begin to look beyond the presidency and see who can deliver for the Liberian people. I think it's a waste of time to continue to imagine that this government, at all levels, whether at the legislature or the executive, even the judiciary, can deliver for these for us. They cannot.
Is that not too soon to make that prognostication?
No, it's not too soon, because the sooner we let them know that we're fed up with what's going on, the better it is for them. Let them know now that they do not stand a chance in 2029. All of these campaignings going on and people getting ready to run. No, there is a set of Liberians who will come up. Who they are, I don't know. I may be one of them. Mr. Nangbe, Mr. Pearson, all of us here ought to begin to let Liberians know, our leaders know, that we're fed up. Some of these people have been in the Senate and the legislature for over 18 years. There is not one legislation you can attach to their name of significance. Not one. Not one. And they're yet preparing to run for elections. And Liberians are supposed to sit by and entertain their candidacy again? No. I think Mr. Boakai did for Liberia what Liberians had wanted, a change of government. That is as much as Mr. Boakai can deliver for Liberia. I promise you, if he does anything beyond what he's already done, I'll be surprised. And I love this man. He's a quiet man. He's been responsible, but he lacks what it takes to move this country forward. There is absolutely no vision that has been articulated. Everything is knee-jerk reaction. And so Liberians need to begin to look ahead of this government and stop crying and imagining that President Boakai and his crew that are there with him can deliver. They cannot. They cannot.
Thank you. Let me go to the pastor. Maybe we'll have some grace here. Pastor Salif, what is responsible for these things happening? I mean, Madam Swakoko Dennis, if what they are saying is true, and the president coming back now to suspend pending investigation, as you know, what is responsible for all these things happening? Is it the devil? He's the father of all lies.
That's interesting, Dennis. Thanks to my brother Wild Williams, but he doesn't want to be diagnostic. He wants to be prescriptive, but you can't have prescription without diagnosis, because proper prescription is preceded by proper diagnosis. So if we cannot properly diagnose the problem, then what are we prescribing? So that's the question.
And that's why I'm asking you the diagnosis question.
So that's the follow-up question you're asking, Dennis. We have to diagnose the problem. The problem is, I think in Liberia, we just got to learn how to do things, okay? And the simple word I can bring is being effective and being efficient. We don't have an effective government and we don't have an efficient government. The reason is, to be effective is to find the right thing to do. To be efficient is to find the right way to do it. So we first got to find what is the right thing we should be doing and what's the right way to proceed. I mean, I appreciate the suspension is a first step, the first step is a suspension. It should be followed by investigation. If the person is found guilty, then there should be some punitive actions. The problem with Liberia is, you ask for what is the problem? We run a how do I call it? The word just skipped me again, but people get away with anything. Okay, we're not punishing anybody for crime. We're not punishing anybody. We run an impunity system. You know, no punitive measure is taken at anybody. So somebody else does it, I can also do it. They got away with it, I can also get away with it. The government has an agency called GSA. GSA is government, services agency. They're supposed to do procurement. They handle all of those things too. Why can't government come up with a standard? Any government agents, when I'm not against people driving expensive cars. I mean, I work in a place and I have housing allowance, I have other allowances. Now, my organization set my cap that for my level, this is the amount of housing I'm entitled to. Now, they did not stop me from living in anything bigger than that. But anything bigger than that, I got to afford it myself. But this is what they give me. So what is the government standard for people's position that this is a standard of car you can drive? If you want to drive $100,000 car, you have to put your own money in there, or a government break, you got to pay for it. But if everybody is left to go and source for their own government vehicle or whatever, then it's an atmosphere for corruption. So those are some of the things. If we can come up with punitive measure, and we are serious about it, that if you did something wrong, you will be punished. You will go to prison. You will pay the price for it. Listen, Dennis, everybody will backtrack. Everybody will, behave right. But there's complete impunity. And to Brother Abu's point, that Boakai was forced to let Admid go. He did not let Admid go. He did not even say anything until after the fact. Admid on his own resigned. And he just accepted while all the noise was going on, he said nothing until Admid resigned before he even made a statement. This man is, I don't know, but the suspension for me is a welcome development. It's a first step. I want to see the second step. I want to see the qualitative investigation. And after the investigation, I want to know if this person is guilty, what will be the punitive measure? We need those kind of things in our society. If we don't do those things, then we can't correct anything. So that's where these things come from, that culture of impunity. Anybody feel they can do anything. That's where these things are coming from. In other countries, people are careful to do certain things because the risk implication. You know what's going to happen to you. That's why you're careful not to do it. You could drive your car. If the speed limit says 50 miles per hour, you can decide to go 150, but if you did that, somebody might put light behind you. You pay some price for it. That's why you're careful not to do certain things. So it's that culture of impunity. That's the root cause.
Thank you. And talking about, using the speed limit example, Victor, let me come to you here. In most cases, we already know. Let's say if you work in a human service environment and you abuse a client, we already know what that consequence is. If you are driving and your speed limit, you go 10 above the speed limit, we already know what it will be. Is it not the same in government? It appears to me that every time something happens, the president is like using a discretion to find what the punishment should be. I've never worked in any government, so I don't know. So please, if you can tell me.
Well, here's the thing, Dennis. All of us are entitled to due process, right? Even if you're in traffic violation, whatever, you still go to court. Even if it is very clear and obvious that you did, violate the traffic law, you still go to court. So yes, the investigation, the president suspending, all of that, I think that's part of the due process.
And who's investigating?
Well, I think in this case, this lady is being investigated by the LACC, I believe. So I think there's some kind of investigation going on. But I think the main problem we have, and this is
and what I ask, even though I know, but like if you have an office, are there no internal processes when you do something? I mean, everything got to be so external.
Yeah, and that is there should be an internal audit to conduct it, but in most instances, Dennis, our leaders, and I was asking the other day, Why do we even call these people executive director? You know, you're running an agency of government, but this title, there is a certain aura associated with this title. And these people, nobody can put foot in their offices. So even the internal auditing mechanism, they don't allow it to work. This woman, it is alleged she spent over $500,000 without approval, not even the board, not the CCPP or whatever it is. So they have that kind of power because we give it to them. But I think the problem we are having that is emerging under this government is there seems not to be an objective approach to the whole combat against corruption. I think that is what is also troubling. Besides the fact that sometimes most of the cases we don't seem to have closure, but the prosecution, the president's action seems to be selective. You know, I mean, he moved on this list so quickly. But then we know the telecom situation is still there. He hasn't really done anything about it, right? He moved on the people at LRRC. He moved on Yemplu at Minister of Information, right? But there are several other instances. We all know about the inauguration fiasco, you know, the NASCAR money and all of that, the cars that were bought. All of these cases are still festering. There's a line down there. He has said nothing about it. This is what is troubling. There doesn't seem to be an objective approach to the combat against corruption. So that is there. Then, of course, there is the question of when these cases finally come to light, you know, and the suspension happens, then what? Are they just suspended and allowed to go? Even if we were talking about the case of the Commerce Minister. Even if the president suspended the Commerce Minister and all of that, do we really pay $96,000 for a vehicle? I heard some, you know, the president is going to use it for gas and all of that. Even if the president is the God in heaven, he's going to use $96,000 vehicle for gas. He doesn't have that right either. Even if he's the president, that is just wrong. That money should be recovered and returned to the Liberian people. I think that's the right way to go about it. It's not just because, you know, he's the biggest president in Liberia. Therefore, you know, every wrong thing once it goes to him, then it is right. I think that is the wrong approach. And these are some of the questions we are asking, you know. So there are lots of cases that are still left pending. The president has not touched them. There's some of them he just kind of stir up a little bit and left them, you know, just sitting there. And then there's some of them, you know, he will act on quickly. So what is the motivation? What is the MO, you know, modus operandi? What kind of playbook is he following? What are we call those, you know, education rubrics? On what basis are you awarding these grades? How do you decide which case is more important to tackle than the other? Abu Kamara at Telecom is accused of taking millions, and he is still there. The president dismissed the rest of the members of the board because of an audit report that found him culpable, and yet he is there. And some of these people, now it looks like they're going to pay them. Because we heard after they paid the bank governor, who himself was removed because of an audit report, he went to court without even the matter going, you know, to trial. The government went in and made a deal with him. These are some of the confusing signals we're getting. So where is this fight against corruption actually going? I can tell you. I don't think anybody can tell.
Thank you. Dr. William, let me come to you and then we can quickly conclude on this. I was reading the statement. It said, in a statement issued by the government, President Boakai reaffirmed the administration's commitment to transparency, accountability, and good governance, particularly in the management of the country's natural resources. How come that whatever safeguards, whatever processes and SOPs that are put in place, how come these things are not finding the culprits? It have to be maybe some newspaper report. Take, for instance, if you know where you work, if you're supposed to clock in at the end of the day, you're supposed to go through it and find these things. Why isn't the government finding these things and talking about transparency? PPCC
again,
what's going on?
You know, Pastor Salif wanted me to go diagnostic. I said no, because we already know what the problem is: a lack of leadership. A lack of leadership. President Boakai has been in government for what? Over 40 years. Seemingly, his first year in office have shown that he has no vision of where he wants to take this country. Donald Trump was president for 4 years. Donald Trump knew what Donald Trump wanted to do in his second term. Right or wrong, Donald Trump is doing it. Donald Trump is doing it. President Boakai has come in and he has not shown leadership at any level. At any level. People are doing what people want to do. People have realized that the president is weak. People realize that the president is not in control. And so people are doing what people want to do at every level of government. And so I say to myself, as a loving Liberian, that our country, I have no expectation of President Boakai in terms of him moving this country forward. I have no expectations. If he does it, and I pray every day that he can, but if he doesn't, I'm not disappointed because I have no expectation that he's capable of moving this country forward. President Boakai does not have a record of moving any institution forward. In the 40 years he's been in government, there's been no distinctions he's made. But Liberians, all of us wanted to move forward beyond George Weah, and so President Boakai's name reigned supreme at the time. Luckily, he's done that. He's paid his price. Personally, I have no expectation of this man. And it is clear in the way he's running this country. After being in government for over 40 years, you know what the wastage is. You know what the loopholes are. You lock it up in your first year. In the first year, we should have enjoyed some form of austerity from this government. Close down all this unnecessary spending, tighten up the screws, but as it is, it's an open tap. It's an open tap. Yeah, the Minister of Internal Affairs talking about $193,000 to renovate an office where school buildings, public schools have no chairs. Have no chairs, health facilities have no medication, and you're renovating an office for $193,000? Does that make sense? You think if President Boakai was actually in control and knew where he wanted to take this country, that people like those will come into office and embark on the kind of processes to take money and siphon money to fix an office? Is that more important than doing what's needed for the Liberian people?
Thank you.
Especially the president is not in control. He's not in control. He simply doesn't have the vision to move the country forward. And it's upon all well-meaning Liberians to begin to carve out a path towards 2029 and move our country forward.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, in the middle there, Dr. Williams sounded like you when you said you had no expectation, right? So what do we do at this point?
I will actually just refer to what our former Justice Minister, not the late, but the former felon, Gloria Musu-Scott, said on Friday. The former Justice Minister and former felon.
She was acquitted, right? Why is still called felon?
She was not acquitted of the crime. She was found guilty, and she's a felon.
Anyway, that's a different story.
That record remains. Let's say this. She said on Friday at the Liberty Party headquarters, where the Liberty Party were trying to regroup as a recording. She said there's a problem with leadership in Liberia. And she said the entire leadership system in Liberia is crumbling. So who was she referring to? Was she referring to an abstract character? I think you are referring to the person who, wherever you go across the world, when they say who is the head of the government of the Republic of Liberia, it will be President Joseph Yaman Boakai. And I don't think there should be any more loyal ally to President Boakai than former Justice Gloria Scott. Because don't forget now, this lady was convicted of crimes of murder, and President Boakai was advocating for her even while she was in court. And she was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. And President Boakai will come to office, send his justice ministry to go and play lazy argument so that the government loses the case, and then she walks scot-free. And then she comes out, and then he appoints her to government again after many years of service in government. And then she goes and say on another political platform that is now quote unquote within the opposition because they are not in power, to be frank. It's a unity party that's in power. And she says that the government is crumbling under the very person who just saved her neck from the prisons of Liberia. So I mean that you know, the people are beginning to get outspoken. And it comes to say where Dr. Williams was saying just, and I agree with him for there's a serious problem with leadership in Liberia. And President Boakai has no, for me, let me just say, for me, I have no confidence that President Boakai has the capacity to do anything. And I will say to you again, Mr. Dennis, and I said this before, no matter how you drive a pen will never become a forerunner. And that analysis, that hypothesis remains true for President Boakai until his first term is over. I hear he's going for a second term.
Thank you. So what do we do, Dr. Pearson? I want solution here. I want direction.
So you're saying what should we do? I think we should go, President Boakai should go back and reverse all of his actions on the tenure position to reestablish confidence in tenure positions. And the reason I say that is because right now, anyone holding tenure positions are aware that President Boakai can dismiss them at will and pleasure. And so for them to be independent in their actions, whether the Anti-Corruption Commission, whether the PPCC, whether the LTA, whether the National Elections Commissions, they all know that President Boakai is willing, controls state power right now. He's able to remove the speaker. And as I'm learning today, Justice Wese is on record already, and that story is developing, that they did not go to the president and no message because they feel the president misinterpreted their opinion, and that they still see Kofa as the speaker, and they did not receive any invitation from Kofa, so they couldn't honor that invitation that came to them. So, you know, the country is, President Boakai can undo this by reversing his decision on tenure, and then
thank you.
Recommit to Liberia that he will not target or undermine any further independence of these tenure positions that are integrated institutions for our country's stability.
Mr. Dukley, what if all this about Madam Swakoko Dennis is false?
Well, you know, Dennis, look, this is not unusual. This is not strange. And you know, also, if you follow our politics post-war, you see that there has not been any tangible diversion from what we did prior to the war. And so I have said on this platform numerous times that, in my opinion, one of the ways to have dealt with some of these ills that led us to what we went through is to have legislated some of these things. You know, if you get to government and you are suddenly wealthy, you must account for your wealth. And when you look at the way we do things, I think Brother Salif alluded to this. You don't have to give a director or a minister a budget to get a car for himself. I have seen in other countries, every ministry is assigned a vehicle by the government. Whether you like it or not, that is the vehicle you will use during your tenure in that department, period. You don't have to go shopping for it. The government does it. Like Brother Salif said, why do you have GSA anyways? I thought the GSA is supposed to be the procurement arm of the government. Now, with all of that said, Dennis, I think one of the in my thinking, one of the best way to get us out of this mess is to begin to hold people accountable. Even where we are in this part of the world, sometimes people are not doing things because they are honest people or because they want to be honest. Sometimes it's because of the laws being deterrent. And so if you are not accountable, the law is going to hold you accountable. So people are afraid for being held accountable, so they do the right thing. So there's consequence to that behavior. Even the police officers, the judges, you name it. So for our Liberia, it's a very small country. We need to develop a new way of thinking that is going to be reflective of our new reality in post-war Liberia. I said here before, we should legislate how people govern. So instead of having people come into office, and then the government decides what to give them for them to function, what to to do their jobs. We have to stop that because we have seen, starting from Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. As a matter of fact, I'm one of those who said that Madam Sirleaf actually laid the foundation for some of these devastating corruption that is now eating into Liberia. She was the one who set the foundation for some of those. So, in order for us to get beyond all of this, we need that leader who is thinking beyond his or her term in office, so that when you set the roadmap, whoever is going to come after you is going to follow that roadmap. So what you've seen today, trust me, Dennis, like I said earlier, nothing is going to come out of it. Liberia is not going to get that money back. And something like this is going to happen again and again because people know that nothing is going to happen to them. They're not going to be held accountable. They got people in high places who are going to speak on their behalf, and then at the end of the day, the whole thing will die down, and that's the end of the story.
Okay, thank you. Talking about mess, the mess in the House of Representatives is still not over. Speaker or former Speaker or embattled Speaker Kofa returned and said he's not going to sit under the gavel or the speakership of Representative Richard Kuhn, right? In fact, while he was away, I think there was a police presence to take his office, which is the Speaker office, and all these things are going on. So, Pastor Sally, what will Kofa do then? Because, I mean, the president, everybody now recognizes the Speaker Kuhn. Is he going to sit out? What is he going to do? What's the end game here?
Good question, Dennis. Let me just, I will get to Kofa quickly. The question you asked, what do we do? I just have 1 cent or 2 cents to add to that quickly before I get to Kofa. What do we do as a system? We got to reinvent the entire system. Okay, every one of us on this platform, by the way you speak, I know we all went to school, started from first grade, graduated high school, college, and whatever we are. You have to complete a coursework. You have to be evaluated. You have to pass the evaluation to get promoted to the next class. We run a system in Liberia where we are not result-oriented anymore. Because the reason we put people into office is because we want results. They're not giving us results. Like Brother William said, they got senators who've been 18 years, so many years. They have not even sponsored one bill. They have not written nothing, but they're still sitting there. So these people bringing no result. We bring Boakai on no. Why do we elect people in a private company, which all of us here, I'm sure we work for? Does a private company promote somebody who is not producing results? No, they fire you. Why in the private companies, they have retirement age, 65. I know they've been pushing it to 70. You have to retire. Why do we retire people? When you retire people, what you're telling them is, number one, you are losing value. You're losing concentration. You're losing strength. Your judgment is not intact anymore. Your judgment is being impaired. People in certain society, when you're about 75, 80, they take your driver's license from you because your cognitive ability is reducing. You put your life and other road users' life at risk. That's why they take your driver's license so you don't drive anymore. In Liberia, we're electing an 80-year-old man who should be retired to be president. You don't think we have problems? We elected fools in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. Years after years, these people are producing no result. The only result the Liberia legislature ever produced is to increase their salary every legislative cycle. That's all they do. There's no result. Why we keep electing them? And then we wonder, what can we do? So those are some of the things we do. We got to tighten up some things and not elect some of these people. When it comes to Kofa, I read the article. He said the only way he will accept Kuhn's leadership is when the Supreme Court rules on whatever petition was filed. You see, Kofa is part of the problem. I love the guy. I met with him. I think he's a great guy. But people like Kofa should never, and I repeat it emphatically, should never, ever be trusted with power. Because You have to always think about the general good of your country. How many months, how many years will Kofa hold on to this? We all agree the process to remove Kofa was flawed. The process to remove him was not fair. We have established that that ship has sailed. Okay, but you prefer one person to hold the country hostage because you say until this thing happens, you are not going to relinquish power. Kofa is not going to be, he's not the first person to be removed unfairly. He will not be the last person in Liberia alone. I'm not talking about other countries. Liberia alone, we've had 2 of that happen to Edward Snow, to Alex Tyler. So he's not the first person. We understand the process was unfair to him. But they said they don't want you. So what are you still holding on to? That means if Kofa took part in the election, if Kofa was in the position of George Weah, he never would have considered to Joseph Boakai. So even me who used to love him now, I'm being skeptical of him. Because if people say they don't want you, hey, you are still a representative. They're not throwing you out of the House of Representatives. They just say, we don't want you to be our speaker. They ain't the majority. Whether it was fair, it was not fair. You say, for the sake of my country, I don't like my country to go through how many months now? We got 2 speakers, this impasse still going on. I don't want this mess. It's creating negative attention on my country. I will concede. That's what statesmen do. That's what people with integrity do. But Kofa, yeah, I don't know what he's fighting for. I don't think right now Kofa is not fighting for Liberia. He's fighting for Kofa. And that is suspicious to me. You muted.
Mr. Dukley, what will Kofa do? Where is Kofa going in the first place? Where is he going with this?
Well, I think Kofa has been doomed from the get-go of this process. Even though when we talk about due process, I think Kofa is within his right, as the Constitution prescribes it. But again, this is we find ourselves in a cycle here, where it doesn't seem like there's an end in sight. And this whole situation was exacerbated by Joseph Boakai's inability to exercise the kind of leadership that was expected of him. And so he found himself in a position where he has to play both sides, and playing both sides led to where we are now. Otherwise, I think it was clear that Kofa was going to concede, even because, it was clear that the votes were not there in his favor, even though the breakaway group did not also have the required number of parliamentarian to get Kuhn elected. But now it's become a situation where, for the interests of Liberia, for the good of Liberia, I think it would be a good idea for Kofa to throw in the towel so that we can't just keep going like this. But legally speaking, he does have the law on his side. But even though you have the law on your side and you don't have the people on your side, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue fighting even though the people are not on your side? What is the value of having the law on your side when the people who make that decision, who decide, are not on your side? Again, this is where we are always lacking leaders who look who should be looking beyond themselves and look at the greater good for the country. What is this position that if you don't stay there, it's going to do something to you? Like you said, Brother Salif, he's still a representative representing his constituents in the house there. So again, eventually, I think he is going to throw in the towel. But did he want to mud everybody up before he can throw in the towel? This is what that gets to me. The fact that he doesn't want to let go simply because the law is on his side. Pardon me?
I say he got Yeka. You say, is he trying to mud everybody? I say he got Yeka, whisk out like that,
It's just I was reading about how he's saying that he's not going to he's not going to give in and all. What is he waiting for when the writing has been on the wall since this whole thing started? I don't know.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. Do you think Kofa eat a show? You want other to eat a show? Or do you think he should fight on? And I'm quoting King Dennis here. You eat your show, let me eat my show. Or do you think Kofa should fight on? Where do you think Kofa can go with this?
Dennis, I beg to respectfully disagree with my previous panelists on this topic. And the reason I beg to disagree is that you know, when you look at an issue, especially political issue, national issue, you have to look at the bigger picture. You know, it's like me sitting on this platform right now and telling you that the country is being governed wrongly by someone, and then I go back and say the person who was doing it wrongly can go ahead and do it instead, since they got the power to bully their way through. I think that is wrong. Don't forget, I share.
So what will Kofa do? What's the path for Kofa here?
I share an article in the chat room there, where in April of 2024, that Kun was contesting this very position with Fonati, and they didn't win it. And then he was orchestrating an overthrow of Kofa, and it leaked out in the House of Representatives. And the media went to talk to Kun on this, and Kun said before the entire media that I have no intention to contest or to find a way to dethrone Speaker Kofa. So I say that to say, fast forward, by October, November, they are hash a plan with President Boakai. And don't forget, President Kun from District Number 11, Montserrat County, is a Unity Party partisan. He was the one being pitched by President Boakai to be Speaker of the House and failed to get that vote of his fellow Speaker representative. They tried taking Kofa to court, to the Supreme Court. They failed on allegations that he was not a Liberian citizen. He was a U.S. citizen and has relinquished his Liberian citizenship. I say all this to say that the bottom line here is that it is not about Kofa. It is about a blatant disregard for the rule of law. It is about a violation of the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. And we cannot sit back and say, since the guys who tried to violate the Constitution and abuse it seem to have gotten away with it, so it is okay, let them go ahead and have it. No, it doesn't work like that. I think Kofa should still remain firm that the rule of law should be upheld. And I'm hearing on that Justice Wese is making his views clear on this, why he didn't go to the president under message, because they do not recognize Kun. Kun is illegitimately representing Liberia to Ghana, representing Liberia out of the country, and people are saying nothing. I think we should not allow this. No.
So Dr. Pearson, in a more pragmatic, in a more practical way, what should Kofa do? I mean, he shouldn't go to meeting. He shouldn't go to the because where the legislators are meeting, being presided over by Kun, should Kofa not go there?
I will answer you with the words of Justice Wese that is developing right now and will be coming to print soon. Wese was asked the same question: why didn't go on Kofa, on Kun? He said to have gone on Kun would be to legitimize Kun's speakership, and whereby we have said in our opinion that the minority should keep meeting and adjoining as the Constitution provides. The majority has a quorum, but they must have the speaker who is present and available and already called in session to go through the process of them providing a resolution and voting on it to have it removed and then elect a new speaker. He says both of them acting outside of those two provisions are ultra virus, right? So I answer you by saying this. Speaker Kofa,
but you said they should compel the rest to come to meeting, right? But you have no way, you have nothing specified on how to compel them.
So Justice Wese said
on your own.
Justice Wese said it this way. Justice Wese said, you do not have, in our opinion, so you didn't formulate the laws to compel your friends. So you both groups go back and do it right. Go back and do it. So go back and do it right. We cannot say then we accept one group who did it wrong and then we consider it to be norm in Liberia. It is not the norm. And that's my solution. That's my recommendation. I think the Liberian people should march on the Capitol or march to City Hall There should be no section until all of our lawmakers sit on the very same roof, and then the majority blacks put their resolution on the floor, and they should vote on their majority and get the 2/3 majority vote against Kofa, get him out as speaker, go through the process and elect a new speaker. That is the right thing to do. Kofa is not in any wrong, and Kofa should not be made to be forced to resign. Simple.
But Dr. Dennis, the president has already created an atmosphere where this is no longer possible because they have tacitly endorsed Kuhn earlier, and now they've come in and open and endorsed him by having him to sit while he gave the state of the nation.
Okay, the president is not law. The president is not law. He can do all he can, however he can. He's not the law.
Yeah, I mean, the point I'm making here is the president has created the environment where it's almost impossible for Nati Kofa to do anything. Otherwise, we know, and as has been said, Kofa is in the right. The law is on his side. But with all what has transpired now, he's in a position where even if he survived it, he's not going to be effective speaker.
So, no, but the focus here is not to reinstate Kofa. No, or not to. No, that's not the focus. What the burden right now rests on the Supreme Court, not on Kofa.
It's a political decision, right? It's political.
No, it's not political, Dennis.
We're going past the political. We are on the legal.
Okay,
there is a bill of information before the Supreme Court to reinterpret their decision. And until that decision is reinterpreted, Fonati is in the full right. He should maintain his stance. This government, regardless of what the president has done or failed to do, Fonati has a right and shoot for posterity, for the sake of posterity. Maintain his position until the right thing is done. And the right thing to do is to reconvene as a body. No one is pushing for Fonati to retain. Fonati does not enjoy the confidence of his colleagues. We agree. But the process of removal has to be done right, regardless of what the president does. If the president had provided leadership from the onset, we wouldn't be where we are today. But we have a law. We have a law that's written, and until that law is changed, the process must follow the course prescribed by affirmed by the Supreme Court. Reconvene as a body, present your petition, recuse Fonati Kofa, vote him out. That's the process. And so any process outside of that, it's unlawful. It's unlawful regardless of what the Chief Justice and the Senate decides to agree to. Not the Chief Justice, but the Justice Minister and the Senate decides to agree to. They have all contributed to this process. They have all, in addition to the poor leadership that is from the president that has exacerbated the situation. And so right now, the entire country and the embarrassment you're talking about rests on the Supreme Court. If they too have liability to some of the problems we're having, because they should not be lagging this long to respond to this bill of information, understanding how critical this is and the implications on national security. They should be active.
Right.
But you cannot just blame the Supreme Court. You see, that's a great.
I'm not just blaming them.
No, you said they share part of the responsibility, right? But you have to understand the position they in, my brother Williams. That's a separation of powers. Apart from the Constitution, the House has its own rules. The Supreme Court, this is not a black and white thing that the Supreme Court can say.
No. I'll hold you to a point.
Go ahead.
The Supreme Court came up with a decision. That decision was misinterpreted by the executive and the Senate.
How do you know that? How do you know it was misinterpreted?
Because I may not be a lawyer,
right?
But I understood what the Supreme Court meant. Lawyers are saying, in fact, the president of the Liberian Bar Association has decided that one of the first things he's doing is to review the Supreme Court decision in view of the Minister of Justice's interpretation of that. That is a tacit validation of the misrepresentation from the executive. Councillor Gonglo has also spoken to the issue.
Yeah,
renowned lawyers have spoken to the issue.
Yeah, I've listened to other lawyers who said the opposite. So
Exactly.
I don't want us to go back there.
Exactly. That's what we're saying. Everybody thinks we all got it right here and there. I am telling you, if Fanatic Kofa loves his country, I'm not saying what was done to him was right. If he loves his country, he will say,
we love our country. We love the country enough to
I want us to move on.
We love the country enough to ensure that we love the country regardless of who it is.
No, the law here is just like the Supreme Court said. There are no laws. There is no procedure set for Kofa to compel or the minority to compel the majority to session, right?
True.
So there is a legal limbo. So what are you going to do?
That's the question.
What is Kofa going to do? Just have
Dennis?
No, Dennis.
The law, the Supreme Court rightly said there is no law.
Yeah, and both are outside the Constitution.
No.
Yeah. No. Let's correct that. Fonati never acted out of the Constitution.
No, he did not.
Fonati's only problem was there was no stipulation in the laws, the rules of the House that could compel his other colleagues to join him.
Right.
So the Supreme Court said, go back and find a way to make that happen.
Right.
Fonati has no. Yeah.
Yes, so the question we're asking you now.
Stop there. So then, if Fonati has no way, so it means the majority and the minority continue to have their separate sections.
Yeah, for the next.
No,
It's
they cannot.
So
they cannot.
So what?
They cannot.
So what happens?
So then the burden now shifts to the instigators of the division to say to themselves, who's worse off in the situation?
No. So what legal instrument are you going to use for that?
The Constitution of Liberia.
The Constitution.
What does the Constitution say? Nothing about that.
Let me say something.
No, the Constitution says nothing about that.
No, the House is straight. It says to remove the speaker, it must be conveyed under the same roof.
We got that.
So if the majority continues to refuse, it then falls back into the ambit of the court.
We agree. We agree, Brother Williams. We agree with your premise.
I say to you, as soon as the Supreme Court says clearly what their ruling was,
the Supreme Court cannot say anything. The Supreme Court cannot
here's the thing, because I've interviewed a lot of lawyers on this thing. The Supreme Court cannot stop them from meeting. First of all, Kofa asked them to say, stop them from meeting. Say, we can't do that. So the
point here is,
just hold on. Just hold on. Just hold on, Mr. Williams. Just hold on. No.
Clarify, and let's see what happens after that.
No, both of them, the decisions they reached by having speaker, by having this, by having that, may be ultra viral, but their meeting is not.
No, the meeting is not. The meeting is illegal.
So they will continue to meet.
The meeting is not illegal.
The meeting is illegal. The meeting
they can meet. They can meet all
the meeting is not illegal. The meeting talks about simple majority. Once you have the simple majority,
under the speaker, if he is available in person.
It did not say no. You see, that's the problem with misleading the people.
Can you pull up the speaker, Dennis, Mr. Salif? It is clear. There's no argument about this. There's no argument about this. Simple majority under the speaker.
No, it's not true. It's not true. It did not say no. I'm not going to let you
say that, but we got to move on, gentlemen. We got to move on.
Majority under speaker. It says simple majority under the speaker or deputy speaker or anybody that is majority.
But the speaker is present, that cannot be a deputy. If the speaker is present, you cannot do a deputy.
But the meeting, the speaker not there.
They have their own house rule. They have
let's move on.
The House rule says when the simple majority sits, they can decide to elect anybody to be the presider at that time.
No, that's not true. No, that's not true.
No, the
That's
house has its own rules.
Only
The
in the
house got
absence
their
of the
own
speaker.
rules. You
They
gotta
got their own
understand
rules.
that.
So let's move on to
Only
my.
in the
Let's move on.
absence of the
We
speaker.
got to move
The
on. In fact,
Supreme Court will not waive any matter one to solve the problem. You
no,
gotta know.
Supreme
No,
Court
they
has
just
no
need to
power to solve
interpret.
this
They just
problem.
need to interpret
Let's
the
take
initial
a
ruling.
short break
That's
and
all.
we'll be back. All right, welcome back, Mr. Douglas. You got to fix that. All right, Mr. Douglas is gone. All right, we have President Boakai, Mr. Boakai, the old man. The people call it the wise old man. But President Boakai has been saying some things that sometimes get people head scratching. And normally he does not come back to clarify. We have surrogates and other people trying to explain what he actually meant. So I'm going to highlight some of those things so that we can talk about them and see clearly what is it that he was getting at. Was he misunderstood? If yes, why is he not coming back to explain himself what he meant? Because these things continue to pile up, and we know him. I mean, he gives some beautiful proverbs, and so in our political cycle, he's known as the wise old man. But here are some things the president has been saying that got people scratching their head. And he said one just recently. Let me give you a few. I think it was in Bong, Basel during the campaign when he said, if the government thinks they will steal the election, it will be the end of the country. That got people scratching their head. The reason I'm going back to this is recently he said something, and I'll get to that very soon. Secondly, when he made that pronouncement that no car will be stuck in the mud in the first 100 days, it took us time for his surrogates to come and explain really what he meant. Did he mean he's going to pave all these roads? Some say, oh no, there are some spots where the cars get stuck, so he's going to fix that. Some say the first 100 days will be dry season, so there will be no mud. So all these things. Another thing the president said, quite not too long, he said, so we want to encourage those who want to remain corrupt and steal money. I beg you, the money should be used to bless our people. What did he mean? Was he endorsing corruption? Or just this week or last week, the president also said something, and I quote, this is your country. This is the only place nobody asks you why. I mean, nobody asks you why you are here. You are here because you belong here. Let's build the country. It has everything. Okay, no, that's the one. So that's the time he said, so we want to encourage you if you want to remain corrupt and steal your money. But I beg you, the money should be used to bless other people. Quite recently, he said about this whole thing, people think that he's talking to diaspora Liberians that are facing the mass deportation from President Trump. And this is what the president said. You're sitting down conveniently in the States and somewhere enjoying. You think you enjoy yourself. You think you enjoy life. I got a message for you. Donald Trump. Some say the words at the end were kind of muffled. I couldn't get them. Some say he said Donald Trump is coming for you. Or he said Donald Trump. If you don't come back to build your country for yourself, it is your business. For us, we have decided this is our country. This is what we're going to be. We're going to do. We will leave this country. We will leave it better than we met it. Dr. William, like me, those things, the latest, did they get you scratching your head as to what really the president is driving at?
I'm not sure when the president is not scripted. He's truly aware of the lightness of his comments and the implications on not just his leadership, but on the nation and the people that he's leading. I've had opportunities to listen to him, like you and many others, and yeah, those comments, I think, didn't speak well of his leadership. I think in so many ways, our leaders ought to be more calculating, more filtered, more measured in their comments rather than to spew out, invectives as if they're having a casual conversation. And I think many times I've heard the president make such comments. It's in, at events where he's gone off script. And so it become worrisome, frankly, when the president is unscripted. It's become worrisome. I would say even when he's scripted, sometimes the script is so long, you're worried and afraid that he could fall off again before something happens. But then when he's not scripted, he tends to just veer off in inconsequential areas as far as not resembling the quality of leadership and comments you want to hear from your leader. And so it's an unfortunate one, knowing and considering how much diaspora Liberians are contributing to the economy in Liberia. To have heard something like the sort come out of him is worrisome. But then it also points to his age, and that's the excuse I'm going to put forward for him. I think his age sometimes is more telling than his intelligence does in such situations.
Victor, what was the president driving at when he said, you're sitting down somewhere, Donald Trump is coming for you and all that? Should that worry us?
Well, let me quickly say this. I will get to that, and I'll try to take as little time as possible. I didn't get a chance to chime in on the last two topics. One, you wanted to know, on the fight against corruption, the way forward. I think the easiest and the best way forward is for the president, once he suspends these people, he should refer them to the investigating agency and make sure restitution is the final objective. I think he should do that. And also, I think the SOP should be without favor across the board. I think that would send a strong message. On the question of Kofa, I really respect my brother Shirley a lot, but I really disagree with his whole posture on this topic. I think it is us who are being unpatriotic to tell Kofa to throw in the towel. We're the ones who are letting Kofa down. Kofa is serving as the last firewall against all of the illegality, the removal of people from the legislature, people who were appointed on tenure being removed. Kofa is the last stand. We're the ones who are letting him down by not standing with him. I think he should insist on this matter, even if he has to go to the ECOWAS court or wherever. He should stand his ground. He shouldn't be perturbed by all of us saying, if he wants to do the right thing or love a country. He is the one who loves the country more than any of us who tell him to quit. We need to let the man fight his fight if we can support him. Don't tell him to quit because it is the politically right thing to do. The man was removed illegally. I think he has the right to fight to make them do the right thing. On the question of what the president is trying to communicate, you rightly said by far, in most instances, he is supposed to be the old sage in the room, the wise old man, because of his age chronologically and because of his experience, his service. But far too often, he seems to be impulsive. He seems to talk before he gives himself time to think on what he's trying to say. And then his aides will run to the airways and try to brush it up and clean it up. If they really want to do that, then they should be proactive. Give him his talking points. Give him a piece of paper and tell him, stay with this paper. Don't deviate. You've already given a litany of the cuff remarks that this president made, and someone pointed this out. He is the president of the Republic of Liberia. He has to understand that his words carry weight. You cited a number of other things, including the fire incident. He went there and danced all over the evidence by his statement that he made on the money following the incident. Already leveling blame, calling out hooligans or whatever it is, without any due process of the investigation. So yeah, right now the tensions are high, whether we like it or not. It's not only Liberia, all over the continent, for whatever reason. Our compatriots on the continent, they don't want us to be here, but yet they will call us day in and day night, night, to send in whatever little help we can. And I don't understand why they think it is actually, it is hurting us by Trump threatening to deport us, which really is unlikely to happen. But there's a lot of people who are rejoicing and they think we should come home. We should be forced to come home. So there is a lot of anti-diaspora sentiments that are building on the continent, especially in Liberia as well. I think the president's remarks were unfortunate. I think he could have done better by helping to assuage the tension. He could have simply said, you know what? If Trump is trying to deport our people, you are our children or our mothers, our brothers and sisters, welcome home. This is your home. We will have prepared to welcome you home. I think that would have gone far in trying to help to tamp down the tension. But what he said, the way he even said it, in a very, very mocking manner, I think it didn't help the situation. It was very unfortunate. I hope they'll do their best to clean it up. But what he said, if it is left uncleaned, unvarnished, unwiped, you understand me? It will actually help to propel the tension that people that's building up in Liberia. There are people right now who think it's a good thing that we should be deported for whatever reason. I won't be surprised based on remarks. I've already seen things being written on social media. People insulting people for no reason whatsoever. Trump coming for you. Trump coming for me where? So I think the president really, he needs to be careful when he's coming to the podium to speak. I think he should give himself time to think through very carefully what he wants to say. If he's having difficulty with that, let him write it down and keep him scripted. But far too often, he comes and do what the English people call, foot in mouth. He will come in and perform calisthenics on stage, and then his people will go and start putting himself through the hoops and trying to clean it up. There are just way too many of these incidents for us to call them coincidence. It seems to me I don't want to say this is a character, but he has to really think very hard and carefully and play the role of the old wise man before he speaks. Thank you. I've learned it, Dennis.
Dr. Pearson, are these gaps? Joe Biden, for instance, was noted for gaps. But those of us who support the president, we can have it both ways, right? We can say, he's wise old man who is always like methodical, and then he is having gaps, or really this is who he is. How do you describe that?
Dennis. Actually, whenever the president misspeak, it's not because of any cognitive dysfunction. All right, I think it's because of lack of competence. He does not have the wherewithal to step up to the plate when you really need him to. And I can give you a lot of instances. Go back and try to review a lot of President Boakai's international interviews that he did. When he has a script, he does well. Like Dr. Williams said, you would try to stick to the script, but once you put him off the script, I mean, it's a cannonball, it's a loose cannon. And I say this because, listen, after President Boakai made that reckless statement, I've seen video of young people in Liberia trying to mock Liberians in the United States about Trump sending them home. And when they come home, they have to sleep in mosquito, there was no electricity and all that kind of stuff. So what example did the president of the Republic of Liberia set for the young generation in that case? None. What empathy did he show? Zero. What leadership did he provide? So far, zero. Since Trump made that statement and they tried to say 1,500 Liberians will be deported to Liberia, the president have not even come up on a podium to address the nation, to calm the nation down and speak to the people of Liberia and say, listen, these are our children. Some of them went abroad, not because they wanted to, but because of lack of opportunities. President Boakai said he came to power because he came to rescue the country that was drowning under bad leadership. So what if the people went there and trying to avoid the very bad leadership he came to fix? Wouldn't it be a good time that you tell Liberian people, now it is time that you can come home. The country is safe. If you don't have the paperwork, come home. Bring your skills. Bring your expertise. Whatever you have acquired while you were there, come home. We'll make this place comfortable for you. That's why we got this new rescue government and the rescue agenda here for you. He did not do that. In 100 days, NOCAL will get stuck in the mud pool, try to justify that. President Boakai tell us that he has no idea what the roads looks like because last time he went to Lofa, he took some on a 1960-something plane. All right? Some on a plane for 1960-something. And where he even landed were complete gravel. In Liberia, call it gravel, just the road. The president of the Republic of Liberia, traveling in the 21st century, in 2024, riding a 1960 plane, landing on a gravel, and did not even say when he got down. You know what happened? As I leave from the gravel airstrip today, and I'm going back to Monrovia, I will send cement bags so they can put cement on, they can put concrete on this, and all the airstrip across Liberia will be concrete so that tomorrow when I come back, anybody who landing on this concrete will be safe. No. He got in a plane, he came back, he went there, got in a plane. So you see, Dennis, it's sad for our country. And this is why I would say to President, those around President Boakai. President Boakai does not have the capacity to lead Liberia. He has shown zero capacity in the past, and he cannot show us any right now after the people have entrusted to him. President Boakai said we should go back and go build Liberia, right, and leave America. Let him show me anything he has built so far from his personal packet, anything from his own packet. I can show more things I have built in Liberia than President Boakai can show, even though he was vice president for 12 years. President Boakai myself lived in the same district. I ran an NGO right behind Joseph Boakai fence. He never knew I was there, and I was catering for over 3,000 children, girls and boys, right behind President Boakai back door, right behind a fence. He never even knew I was there. He was vice president. So
thank you.
You know, it's sad. It's sad for our country, Dennis.
Yeah. So, Pastor Salif, if the government thinks, meaning that we are government, they will steal the election, it will be the end of the country. In 100 days, NOCAL gets stuck in the mud. We want to encourage those who, steal money. It should be used to bless the people. And you're sitting in America, Trump is coming for you. Why the president, he said that today, Trump Prime Minister, I would say Elon Musk, posted, say, among other things, his group now today canceled 17 million project to provide tax policy advice to Liberia. Why would anyone think that this is a good use of your tax money? So the 17 million we're expecting in Liberia canceled.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think President Boakai's remarks, especially on the diaspora thing, especially given the time, because some of these things are time sensitive, and given the time that we are in right now, I think his remark was nothing short of reckless, preposterous, insensitive, and ill-advised. When you are the president, you don't just speak, because when you speak, it's like a policy. So people around you should be able to at least vet some of the things you want to go say. Even me at my level, it's not, I don't just get up and do things. My wife will, hey, you can say this, do this, people, this thing come off as this, how can a president of a country just open up his mouth and words just flow out of his mouth? But listen to this. If you go to different sites, you will get different statistics. So be patient with me. What I'm telling you is not the final, so that people don't say, oh, he lied. No, so be careful. According to one of the reports I'm looking at, in 2023, which was the peak, 2023, remittances from diaspora Liberians was up to 800 million US dollars. 800 million. That's what diaspora Liberians remitted. When it comes to from 2013 to 2015, one of the reports I'm looking at right now, it shows that remittances for 2013, 2014, 2015, it was 414 million in 2013, 645 million in 2014, in 2015. There was a drop in 2021, 338.07 million, I'm sure because of the COVID. But 2024, I was interested in 2023, it says $800 million. So people that are remitting this amount of money to keep the economy afloat, you think you can just denigrate them, talk to them anyhow? It's ill-advised. See, this man is inept. I mean, I don't know. Again, I will always say he was a fraud on the country, because the country was deceived. Because I understand people passion, they did not want weird, but to sell this man that, with over 45 years of government experience, he knows what to do. Where is the experience? Like Brother Williams said, they have not given us definitively this was what he did. He has not raised up any agency that he really worked for. What? Show us his score sheet. We don't see the score sheet. We don't see what he really did. What is his track record? So people that are keeping your economy afloat, now you're losing 17 millions. Now you got little children producing video, TikTok video, mocking people in the diaspora. That's not going to stop us from doing what we got to do, because we got families there. We got school fees to pay. We got medical bills to pay. We got food to put on the table. We're not going to stop, but it just shows how ill-advised, ill-equipped, and how inept Joseph Boakai is. Most of the projection they did for the over 100 days, no car stuck in the mud, and all this foolishness they talk, it was just out of exaggeration. They didn't know what they were saying. When a president speaks, listen, the Bible says in James, we should be slow to anger, slow to speak, but quick to understand. And I think JMB, he needs the right people around him to look over some of the things he wants to put in the public sphere.
Thank you. Mr. Dukley, do you really think President Boakai meant to mark Liberians that are facing deportation from President Trump?
I think, sincerely speaking, I would say no, because in all fairness to him, if you look at the end part of the remarks, he also said that, they are welcome. Liberia is the only place that they're not going to get deported from. But Dennis, beyond that, someone, I don't remember who, but someone on the panel said, as the president, when you speak, people listen. And for that reason, he should have been very, very careful when he spoke. This is just very, very reckless on his part. It was just uncalled for. Now, with that said, I just wanted to highlight something someone said earlier. I think it was Brother Salif. Look, we as people, we've been defrauded with this Joseph Boakai presidency. And this is not the first time. Remember when we were told that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf comes to the Liberian presidency with how many years of experience with international organizations, the United Nations? She's a Harvard graduate. Do you remember that after the war? And what did we get out of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf? All of these things we see happening today, the foundation were laid by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And so, because Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was the one who had the opportunity to create an environment that was going to we were going to have a political environment where our current reality would have been reflected in the new Liberia, post-war Liberia. I mean, so for Joseph Boakai's gaffes and all the things, it just speaks to who he is. And let me ask this question: of the 40 years that they speak of Joseph Boakai, those 40 years in government, what can we show for those 40 years? I know when Joseph, when we spoke of J. Bacchus Matthew, there are certain events that we can directly attribute related to Bacchus Matthew. So all these guys, there are things that they did. We say, yes, this is what they did. What did Joseph Boakai, what has he done in those 40 years that we always say he's been in government for? What has he done besides being a director of LMC, whatever it is? Beyond that, what has he done? So again, Dennis, we have to, ask the power that be that, we need a leader that's going to be thinking about Liberia and the future of Liberia. Someone who is going to be a visionary. Joseph Boakai is not a visionary, and he has not shown that, he has not exhibited that for his decisions he's made, from the people he has around him. And so I can tell you now, we're almost a certainty that his remaining years in power are not going to be any different than what we've seen so far.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Between the Headlines. We are discussing the president suspending the head of NOCAL, and also some of the things that President Boakai says that get your hairs scratching. Now, I already reported that this from Elon Musk said they are taking away $17 million project to provide tax policy advice to Liberia. This is being canceled, and he's asking why would anyone think that this is a good use of our money. I wrote, today that election have consequences. If you're joining us and want to be part of the discussion, please call the number that is on your screen, that's scrolling right there, and call in. Let's get your view. This is we talk our own, so it's time to talk yours. The number is right there, and will be. There's a story coming out of Bong County. There's an arson. I mean, somebody went to burn the lawmaker's farm, allegedly. He's being captured. He's a 25-year-old. He is now in court. So he want to set fire to the lawmaker's cocoa farm in Bong County. The story says the suspect, identified as Musa Azako, was charged with arson in disorderly conduct on Friday by officer of the Batala police station in Yakwale district. So he went to burn. I mean, this arson, this burn fire business, man. Dukle, where is it coming from?
Well,
burning stuff. Is it some wickedness, mental illness?
When I read this story today, apparently it was disclosed by Madam former vice president, the vice president to George Weah. So, Dennis, this is you have to look at this beyond just this incident. But the culture of impunity has become so prevalent in our country that no one is afraid of anything anymore. Because the story, when I read the story, the whole thing was just so flagrant that this guy, when he was spotted, he tried to escape, and whoever was pursuing him with the car, I think he ran out of gas. And I mean, the fact that people will even resort to something like this speaks to the kind of mindset we have relative to how we express our anger and how we deal with our conflicts. Because, I mean, we saw what happened in Monrovia. Someone tried to burn the House of Representatives there, put it on fire. That investigation is still pending. We don't know what's going to come out of that. And now Representative Cole, whatever his property was, put on fire again. So Dennis, for me, I look at it not only for this incident for what it is, but rather the mindset, things that we have come to internalize, and they are manifesting themselves in ways that we want to act as if it's surprising. But honestly, it's not surprising. This is not surprising because people are not deterred by what's going to follow their behavior. And that range from government officials, police officers, you name it. So what do you expect? I mean, there are. This is maybe because this is the representatives' property.
Yeah.
But not too long ago, we heard a story of a young boy, a young man who killed a 15-year-old girl who was 3 months pregnant. And I'm pretty sure there are many other examples that we probably haven't heard of, or we probably would never heard of, hear of them. But it goes to speak to the way people are thinking and the way people are reacting and how they resolve their differences. Because no one is afraid of the law. Because I was talking to somebody when I heard about the story of the young man. He said, no, this guy, if he goes to jail, if his people got money, they're going to find a way, they're going to get him out. That's how everybody in the country is thinking. And so no one is afraid. Why? Is it because it's Representative Cole's property? But no, it goes beyond that, Dennis. This is something that is a problem. It's a problem in Liberia.
Thank you. Dr. Pearson, I don't know why, but if you remember the guy who plowed his vehicle in the Unity Party compound before the elections, I mean, we don't know what's happened to that case. In Lofa, there were individuals during the election violence that were killed, even in Monrovia, sometime in the street.
Yeah.
And now this. So is it because people are not afraid of consequences? If I do it, nothing will come from inside. They will say, is that why? Or people are just sick?
With the Lofa incidents during the elections in November and December, November rather, let's be very clear on that. There were Unity partisans who felt aggrieved and felt votes were being stolen, and because of the propaganda that was preached during the elections by President Boakai and formerly late Prince Johnson, that they will protect their vote if it means shedding blood. So of course we can see why those murders are not being investigated. The case with the guy who drove into the Unity Party headquarters at the time President Boakai had won the election and his partisans were celebrating. Unity partisans clarified that the guy was one of them and he was drunk. So again, in that case, they didn't go anywhere because he was a partisan, I guess.
Cool.
So
I didn't hear that part.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, the party even spoke to that as well. Members of the party spoke to that. The guy was drunk, and why he applied into the group, so that they didn't go nowhere. When it comes to this whole fire stuff in Liberia, yes, I think it's worrisome. I think it's troubling. I think no one should have the property in any ways, whoever it can be, politician or non-politicians, should have their home or the property damaged. But let me give you something here, Dennis. Put aside the confusion in the House of Representatives, and put aside Cole being one of the vocal person for Speaker Kofa in the fight for the rule of law and in the Constitution in the current minority and majority black stuff. But it was surprising to note that this 30,000 plants of cocoa, according to Moy, the 30,000 cocoa plant that was destroyed, he said he invested $250,000 in that farm. Who in Liberia there? What ordinary person in Liberia can spend $250,000 on a cocoa farm?
Not Prince Moy, Marvin Cole.
Marvin Cole, yeah, Marvin Cole. You know, who thank you for the correction. Who in Liberia can spend 200? So tell me, you go to the village and not even village, because around the highway there between.
Please conclude. We're almost out of time.
So the guy says he spent $250,000 on that farm. When the people there still sleeping in mud houses, on a thatched building, on dirt floor, and have no food to eat, no money to send their children to school, and then they represented them eating money in the house and whole day on their back, in the social media and complaining about what they are doing. So I can understand why citizens are frustrated, Dennis. But I think it goes down to say no matter who it is bad, and the police should investigate these things, and we have concrete resolution of those cases. But if the politicians are stealing and spending good money around the people and they're not benefiting, of course, they will target them. Sad to say, but they will target them. That's just how society works.
But you seem to kind of lean it on Unity Party, like Unity Party is responsible, as if Unity Party, these things started to happen since Boakai became president 1 year ago.
I think you asked me about specific cases, and I respond to the specific cases.
Yeah, but you think that Unity Party,
let me clear my name because you make it sound somehow. You mentioned your Lofa. The killing that one in Lofa in Foya was done by Unity partisans. It is clear. And they are in the party regalia. The one that happened at the Unity Party headquarters, they looked into it. And don't forget, at that particular time, it was A.B. Kurman, it was great, and this other guy, the current IG, Gregory Coleman, who were coming into power at the time. They were not in power, but coming to power. So they looked into those things immediately, and they all agreed that it was a drunk partisan that did that drive through. And then lastly, when I spoke to this fire incident, I said, I mean, it's bad.
I got your point. Yes, that the whole Unity Party thing. Let me go to Victor so we can bring in our colors.
So, Dennis, I'll be quick on this. First of all, I thank God I read a story. At least up to now, no casualties have been reported. So, and I'm on with Dr. Pearson on most of it. I don't know how Marvin Cole got $250,000. He claimed to have invested in this, but I hope the investigation, and they seem to have concluded everything. I mean, they have the suspect. He has confessed and all of that. So I don't really know what interest this story really is. But here is what is of interest to me as we, you go to the colors. I was reading today on the Smart News Online in Congo Town, not even say Batala or Kokopa, in the heart of Monrovia, a 22 years old man, Momo Davis, was tortured for 3 days by a Chinese national, Chinese Michael. And it is alleged that the security that was protecting this man is related to A.B. Krumah. All of that. I really hope someone would take interest into this matter and look into it. 3 days, they said this man was beaten and tortured. The pictures are in the paper. I wanted to send it to you, but I didn't send a link. But I hope someone picks this story up and look into it. I think some kind of investigation should be done. Really, that is what is of interest to me.
Thank you. I know we have 3 more to speak on this, but let me bring in some callers here. We have a list.
Then take me 10 seconds. I just wanted to add something to what Dr. Pearson said. Because this gentleman was a Unity Party partisan, does not make it any less criminal. And so it should be investigated, and there should be a consequence for that, even if he's a partisan. He committed a crime.
He's implying that Unity Party will not investigate because the person is Unity Party. As if we anyway. Let me bring in the colors here. The first is Evan Morris. Evan, you're live. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. John, and hello to the panelists. Quickly, I just want to say, I think on the issue of Swakoko Dennis, I think she should have been smarter to understand that buying car, expensive car, is a popular kryptonite. And she should have learned from Admid that when you buy big car, you can steal a lot of money. As long as you're helping the people, you ain't got a problem with it. But when you're buying bigger cars in the president, you're buying a big car, that's a surefire way to get fired. So I think she should have learned her lesson. But lastly, to the situation with diaspora Liberians, I think it's a hypocritical statement because Joseph Boakai's son lives in the United States permanently. He goes back to Liberia when his father in government from time to time. Joseph Boakai would know that. He has a daughter who lives in this country permanently here in Minnesota. He has grandchildren, granddaughter who he came to her wedding a few months ago. So he has family in this country. Is he calling his family to go back home and go build a country? Is that what he's saying? When State Witherspoon, the criminal, was sending him money that he got, that he stole in America when we're paying for a generator fuel, sending money for your feeding and other things, was he complaining about people being in America? When you were getting money for Aaron Costa, who were in America, waiting for your money or whatever else you were getting money for, was he complaining? So that's the insult that coming from the president of the country. There's a bit of an envy that a lot of people have with people who are in America. this mindset that we are enjoying in this country. A lot of people work on, 9 to 5. People struggling to make a living in this country. They think we're enjoying. The man who been being fed by the taxpayer money almost all his adult life is the person who said we're enjoying in America. It's an insult to us, but I don't blame the man. I blame everybody else who voted for him, who have been bamboozled into voting for him. Even though Costa was coming out and telling you he's an ingrate, he's ungrateful. You saw what he did to Alex Cummings, who helped him personally, helped him make accountability him in Atlanta when he said he never knew the man. So today we should be surprised for Joseph Boakai to insult the diaspora like this. No way.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you. Mr. Tubman. Tubman, you're alive.
Yeah, Dennis, thank you. And hi to the panelists. I'm not surprised. I don't know why any Liberians would be surprised at Mr. Boakai's statement. It's not his first time, Dennis. You've been read that many times that he spoke recklessly. We saw what he did when he went at the Capitol Hill there when the building caught it on fire. His first statement from his mouth. We know the kind of person he is. I mean, he doesn't think before he speaks. He just threw out words and just think that so I'm not surprised at that. But these are the very people when they get headache, they come to America. When they want to see dentists, they come to America. This is the kind of leader. He comes to America many times to seek medical attention. But here is he mocking hard-working Liberians who in the United States that contributing to the economy over there. He's mocking us that we should come back home. This is the country. If you say you can sit over there comfortably, you can come back home and come to your country. What is he doing? What is he doing? Is he doing anything for the people over there? But this is where we are. Liberians voted for this old man. This man is 80 years old. And you say you think he have a vision to move the country anywhere? No. Look, if you read maybe things fall apart. When you reach to the climax, it can't hold no longer. It's at the 40 point. Joseph Boakai in his life at 80 years old, there is no energy. Anybody for that matter, at 80 years old, you're declining. You're declining. There is nothing you can do in your life. I don't know what the Liberians were thinking. What were we thinking about to elect an 80 years old man that have no achievement in his life? Not a single thing he can point to say, yeah, during my time, during my prime, this is what I've achieved. Nothing he can show. And we took that kind of individual, we elected him to the highest office in the land.
Thank you.
What were we thinking about?
Thank you.
So it's not strange. It's not surprising. But this is where we are today. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Tubman. Let me bring our last caller here. That's Dennis Kuti. Mr. Kuti, you're live.
Hello. Thank you so much, Mr. Jah, for bringing me on, and I thank all of the panelists and for the efforts that you guys have been making. You see it, you talk it. Whether or not anybody likes it. But yes, here is what I think the ball is in the court of the Liberian people. Excuse me. We have changed government. We have done almost everything that we should do. Now this other administration came in, and in fact they are beyond abusing powers. The President Boakai himself is above abusing power. We can't continue to have a country like this, then we continue to boast of it. Oh, Nigeria is the oldest African nation. And then we're sitting down over there looking at all of these things going on, and we can't act. I think it's time for this old man to resign. I will just cut it short. It's time for this old man to resign. He has gone, he's there abusing power. The law of the land, he does not respect it. Down to the legislature, they to the idea, in fact, he fought hard to try to put the legislature into his path so that he can have the opportunity to do what he wants to do, so that he cannot be investigated. In fact, all of the investigation, whatsoever that the people have brought up in over there, what is the end? Then we talk about war and economic crimes code that people have been talking about. When you go, no head, no tail. What are we doing? It is time for this young man for this old man to resign and let somebody else come in to fix the problem the country is having. I mean, we can't continue to sugarcoat it. When the progressives during their time, or without Aratowa, when you were in power, progressive, they look at the truth and just talk it, and if there's anything, let it happen. Where are the politicians? Where are the people who really want this country to be where it's supposed to be? Yes, come on, Burkina Faso just rising up right now. In 2 years period, they're not owing anybody anymore. But Nigeria have been in power forever. We continue to depend on loans, on all these stuff. Then the loan, when we take it, few people divide it among themselves. And how long should it take before we can realize that it is against us? So my message is, Liberians, we need to rise up. We want the old men to leave and go somewhere. Let people take over and fix the problem that we're facing in this country. This is me. Thank you.
Thank you. That will be our last caller here. Dr. William, your response. Dr. William and then Pastor Salif, you two didn't speak on that issue, so you can talk and respond to the callers, and then we can close up.
Well, I think the callers are simply recapping most of what we said. The general persuasion is that we begin now to carve a path beyond this government that will help to move our country forward. We need visionary leadership, leadership who truly understands where they want to take this country. Where we are at the current time, there isn't any indication that we know where we're going, and it's not helping the anxiety of the people. We have a population that's very volatile. Rule of law isn't being respected. There is a general level of impunity on the streets of Monrovia and across the country, so much so that lawlessness is taking the streets. And that could, frustration could factor in. A lack of belief in the rule of law from the people could very much be the reason why people are behaving and taking the law into their hands. All of this is coming from the quality of leadership we're providing. We think it doesn't augur well for the country. And so I urge all well-meaning Liberians to begin to join forces as we march towards 2029, join forces in moving our country forward. It's better us doing it than never even attempting to do it.
Thank you.
We've made sacrifices for Liberia, and this is just another level that the sacrifice ought to be made.
Thank you. Pastor Salif.
In electricity, there's a process where electric magnetic forces, they usually cancel each other out. So like Brother Dukley said, he doesn't think Boakai was mocking because at the end, he said people should come home. But when you say one thing at one instant and then the other thing, you cancel the two things out. They cancel each other out. If Boakai wants people to come home, if a responsible president will say, listen, if Donald Trump is treating you like this, I'm improving healthcare in Liberia. You can come, you won't have to be worried about healthcare. I'm improving the school system. Your children will have proper schools to go to. I'm doing everything to stem up corruption. You will come, you live. I'm trying to increase security and make the country safer. People will come. We're inviting industries. We're building industries. We're creating jobs. So when you come, you're not going to miss anything. Oh, we're building infrastructure, our roads, our building. We're doing everything. So you're not going to miss much. So come back home and come and help me build. That's how responsible president will speak. But again, like I said, this man was a fraud on the country. And I still stand to my point with as a country. We got to get to that point where we say we don't want to elect any leaders that are a certain age. Yeah, you can't be, because while other companies are retiring people at that age, then that's where we electing them to lead in the highest office in the land. It's mind-boggling to me. The man should be on retirement. We're bringing him. The man is in cognitive decline. His strength is failing. So many
Some say Joe Biden was the same way, right?
Yeah, he was the same way. I'm not saying that to only Liberia. I mean, it's only in politics that people that should be on retirement are the people we're giving fresh jobs to. It shouldn't be that way. When you work with a company, a serious company that is result-oriented, once you get to a point, they start to retire you and bring in fresh graduates from schools so that they inject fresh ideas into the company. Elon Musk, all the noise we're making now with the Doge, even though good or bad or ugly based on which side you are, what are the ages of his team he's working with? Teenagers. I think the older person that more than 25 years old. He's working with young people and they're doing what is based on which side of the political aisle you are. Why in Africa we elect the oldest men that can't even lift up their feet? What do we expect? We can't get the result we want. So again, like I said, join the team, ST Salif 2029.
Thank you, gentlemen. I want to appreciate you for tonight. We have 5 minutes to close, so we want to use the 5 minutes, less than a minute each for your closing. Let me start with Mr. Nambi.
Thank you very much, Dennis, and let me thank my colleagues tonight. Again, I'm going away with something I didn't know before. I want to also thank the audience. They're pretty active tonight. But listen, look, quickly, the president's fight against corruption. All we are saying is let him be even-handed, and then make sure there are consequences. Suspension is not sufficient. He is not blunting out, this ugly malaise. So he needs to go beyond that. Where is asset recovery? Where is asset declaration? All of these things, those are all part of the package of the fight against corruption. So, I think the last figures I saw, probably not even 30 to 45% of the cabinet members, have declared their asset. Why is that not happening? I don't know. So he needs to do, better than that. To the saga at the House of Representatives, I really look. I am one of those who had said earlier that look, I think Kofa has made his point. He needs to call a press conference and declare victory and move on. But the way this thing is going, out of that, Kun all over the place. He's not a speaker. He is not. He was never elected. He's the coup maker. He came to the speaker's office through a coup. He should be removed. I think what Bese is trying to do here is even give him a new opening to Kofa to sustain his fight. Bese is making it very clear. Kun is not a speaker. So whatever budget, whatever he did, the $880 million that he gave this government is illegal. He did not preside over the budget because he's not a speaker. So the president really needs to take heed. And this is really in his court. He can do a lot to resolve this conflict. Him doubling down, perpetuating this divide is not helpful to this government.
Thank you, Mr. Dukley.
Yeah, Dennis, thank you very much for having us tonight. And I want to say thank you to my fellow panelists. Dennis, we've seen a lot of these things happen in the past and they were not addressed adequately. And I don't think this Soakoko Dennis saga is going to be any different than we've seen before. We just have to, hope that people around the president will try to sway him in a way that he will be a little bit more effective than he has been. But I mean, that's just something, I don't know, maybe it's a wishful thinking on my part. But like I said, we usually predict the future based on the present. And so what we've seen so far doesn't really give us any encouragement looking at the future. But you can never tell. We can only hope that people around him will start thinking in a more positive way than they have been.
Thank you. Pastor Salif.
Thank you, Dennis, for the show tonight, and thank you to all our listeners and your interaction with the show tonight. It was very healthy, and it helps us to go back, think, and when we're coming back, we bring more facts and we speak more appropriately. We appreciate all the comments that came in tonight, and we will never, ever underestimate or downplay your comments. They are all important. To all the panelists, thank you for your wonderful contribution. But all that I want to say tonight is to speak to our Liberian people. We have to get to that place. Democracy is not for the ill-informed. Democracy is not for illiterate people. Democracy is for informed people, where you can sit down and make informed decisions. Look at everybody in the race. Look at the platform they are presenting to be able to know what can win your vote, and not just looking at names and personality and party sentiment. It got to be who can deliver the goods, because political power is for service delivery, quality service delivery. If we have people who sit in there and they're not delivering the goods, there's no reason why we keep putting them there. And let us stop celebrating mediocrity. Let us start celebrating criminality. We known to celebrate people that are stealing. We praise them. We uplift them. We give them higher position. We can't do that. But finally, to our young people that are making video because of JMB mockery of people in the diaspora, whether he meant that or he didn't mean that, you got to think twice, because 2023 alone is the diaspora community that contributed up to $800 million to the Liberian economy. We injected from their remittances. From 2013 to 2015, you saw 414 million, 645 million, 2021, 338.07 million. So be careful when you make those kind of videos, because don't forget, tomorrow morning you're going to have problems and you will call that your uncle, that your auntie, to send you that send wave. So don't infuriate them, because you'll be punishing yourself.
Thank you. Sometimes, like the two women that went to King Solomon, right? The one who didn't have the baby wanted the baby to be cut into two.
Yeah.
So maybe those who are making the video, that's that mother. Dr. Pearson.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, for having me tonight. I want to say thanks to my esteemed panelists, fellow panelists for tonight, and thanks to the viewers and listeners out there. Listen, every time we get a shot at corruption is a good thing. And I think if this is a turnaround for President Boakai, then he shouldn't stop with Swakoko. All outstanding corruption allegation cases should be also acted upon. And the ones that he failed on in the past should be revisited. The man who they said did an Arson attack on Prince Mode,
Marvin Cole
farm. I want to just say to Marvin Cole, sorry, and to the rest of the Liberian people, let us think twice before we destroy what we own or others own. But Marvin Cole, and along with all of the other government officials, remember that in society, these people are watching you. When you are flamboyant about what you have and the people don't have anything, and they know that you are living off of their sweat, obviously, if they are not in peace, it will rub off on you. That's why we are advocating for a country run by laws and by constitutional rule. And then when it comes to Speaker Kofa, I would say, Dennis, listen, Speaker Kofa is a speaker. Kun is an illegitimate speaker, and he's impersonating as Speaker of the Republic of Liberia. I think we need to revisit, let them go back into their section under Speaker Kofa. And since they claim to have the majority, let them put up a vote and vote him out. And then when it comes to Boakai's reckless statement, I think it is reckless, unbecoming, unprofessional, unpresidential. And I think President Boakai should be much more careful how he relates to Liberians in the diaspora. Because take it or leave it, the woman who's selling better ball pepper, the construction company guys, the electricians and the plumbers, they all benefit from the diaspora because of the investment in their little projects going on in Liberia. So if you provoke people outside of Liberia at the end of the day and they don't want to contribute towards their family members, their homes and stuff like that, you are only further hurting our economy, especially with other countries pulling back and focusing on their own. So thank you again. Please let us be wise and let us lead responsibly. Thank you very much for tonight.
Thank you.
Dennis, real quick, thanks for bringing Mr. Y. Williams to the show. I mean, I really like the man. I love his trend of thoughts, and he's really good. Hats off to you, my brother.
And let me also tell you, Mother has a message for you here, Pastor Salih. He said your political ambition is dead on arrival.
If you ask my campaign chair, Victor Nangbe, I don't think
This campaign is surging. It's surging just the Philadelphia Eagles. Go Eagles!
I'm telling you.
You have the spokesperson here for the Salute campaign.
There you go.
And that what King Carol said, you let me, you not let me, God will wake up me in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's what they do.
And we are still recruiting Sam Wodo as the public relations officer.
Sam Wodo, all they want us to talk about the MOUs, nothing else.
I love you all, brothers. I love you all, my guys. Yeah, thank you.
Thank goodness. Everybody have a good weekend. A good week.
On that note, we're going to close with a song that says, we are all Liberians. Have a good night and God bless.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our